like to welcome you today. Our speaker today is Mary Harrison. She is from Best Approach Consulting, LLC. And today she is going to talk about helping seniors and their families explore, choose, move into local or into senior housing. Mary combines professional expertise with personal experience as a caregiver for her parents as a dynamic speaker who educates seniors, their families, and fellow healthcare professionals. Thank you today, Mary, and we welcome you.
Thank you so much. So today we are going to be talking about caregiver stress, self-care guide for caregivers. So my name's Mary, like you said, and I am a graduate of Ohio University, and I have a certificate in gerontology. And what that means is that I studied aging and the aging process, and I work with seniors and their families. And in my current role, I help people figure out which assisted living is a good fit and when is it time to move. Today, we're going to talk about self-care and balancing care with our loved ones and care for ourselves. Our lineup this morning, our topics that we're going to talk about, what is caregiver stress? And we're going to do a self-assessment. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper, now would be a good time to get that. We're going to look at what is self-care. What are the benefits of self-care? And what are some ways to take care of yourself while you are caring for your loved ones? So the first question is, what is caregiver stress? And simply put, caregiver stress is the stress that comes from taking care of your loved ones and addressing all of your care needs. So, especially as women, we are in caregiving roles quite a bit in our life. So the caregiver stress can come from taking care of a baby, taking care of grandchildren, taking care of your spouse, taking care of your parents. It's often said that many women in their 40s to 60s find themselves as part of the sandwich generation. So they're taking care of young people in their home, as well as taking care of their parents, their grandparents, or their spouse, depending on the age of everyone involved. The people who are the caregivers in the middle kind of get a little squashed and feel like they're being pushed in all directions. So caregiver stress is different than the regular stress that we have just from living. Caregiver stress is the stress of trying to make sure that all of the needs are met for that person that you're caring for in your life. So if you are a caregiver, I'd like to invite you to think about some of the stresses that you have as a caregiver that are unique to that role that you've taken on. So are you experiencing caregiver stress? And after years of being a caregiver and working with caregivers, it's pretty difficult to care for someone on a short or long-term basis without experiencing some kind of caregiver stress. So there's a caregiver strain index questionnaire, which I'm going to read the questions. And as people start to come in, if this applies to you, or if this is something that in your life you've seen, give yourself a point and keep track. These are just some triggers for people who are caring for a loved one. Number one, is your sleep ever disturbed at night? So is your loved one getting in and out of bed, wandering around at night? I care for a loved one who is kind of young with dementia. Oftentimes, I'll wake up to a phone call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? So not really sure what time it is. The days and nights kind of run together sometimes when folks have dementia. So if you've ever had your sleep disturbed because of the person you're caring for. The second thing is, Is it just inconvenient? Is taking care of your loved one inconvenient? So if you are trying to work outside of the home and trying to get your appointments scheduled for their doctor's appointments, trying to get them to whatever services that they need, trying to coordinate home care things, is it inconvenient? Are you having stress because there's so many things to take care of? The third question to ask yourself is this causing physical strain on your body? So, unfortunately, as part of the aging process and part of any diseases, it can become difficult for a person to be able to independently move about the home. Are you in a position where you are physically trying to lift someone? Are you physically trying to help someone on and off the toilet? Are there increased falls where you're trying to help the person get up? So, is your caregiving putting a physical strain on your body? Question number 4. Does it feel like you're being confined to the home as well? Does it feel like your movements are restricted? Are you able to do the things that you want to do? Or do you feel like you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything because your entire world is surrounded in the caregiving process? Number 5. Now, have you had to make some family adjustments because helping your loved one has disrupted routine? Maybe there's no privacy because now you need to have a caregiver come in overnight. And so sometimes it can feel like your home's not your own. Maybe you've had to move in with a loved one so that you can take care of them. And many times our family roles revert back to mother, child, even though you're the person doing the caregiving. So do you feel like your regular routine schedule has to have been adjusted? The next one is, have there been changes in your personal plans? So if you had a vacation planned, did you have to change it? If you were planning to go to a wedding or out of state on a visit for a reunion, something that you wanted to do, did you have to make changes for the plans of the things that you wanted to do because you had caregiving responsibilities at home? Have there been any emotional adjustments? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling anxious? Is the person you're caring for experiencing mood swings, changes in emotion? Are you arguing more than you used to do in the past? All of these things can contribute to that feeling of having caregiver stress. Are some of the behaviors that are happening upsetting you? Maybe it's an incontinence issue. And what used to be your pride and joy of your home, now you have to clean up after someone who's had an accident. Maybe the person's having trouble remembering things. Unfortunately, when someone has dementia, sometimes they don't remember who we are. That's very upsetting. Oftentimes, they lose things or hide things. They don't know what they've done with them. They can accuse their caregivers of stealing them, taking them. It can be very upsetting. So if you've had anything in those lines. Another thing that happens that causes caregivers to feel strain, is it difficult for you to find that your loved one has changed so much from their former self? Sometimes it can feel like our loved ones become completely different people. They don't like the same things. They're not an equal partner with you anymore on decision making. And it can feel like the person who you're taking care of isn't even the same person who you married. Doesn't feel like your dad. It doesn't feel like your mom. This can be very, very hard on the caregiver. If you're still working outside of the home, when you're a caregiver, have you had to make adjustments to your work schedule? Do you feel like you're calling off more often? You're being passed up for promotions because the people in your office know that you're not able to be there 100% of the time because you have these other obligations. This is a common one for caregivers. Is it a financial strain trying to manage all the care needs for your loved one? Are you going through your savings account? Are you having to pay someone to come in and do things that your loved one might have to do before? Are you having a lawn service now where you didn't before? Is this a financial strain for you? And the last one is, for the Caregiver Strain Index. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Worried about how you're going to manage, worried about your loved one? Do you physically and emotionally feel overwhelmed? So if you've been able to listen to some of these statements, most caregivers would find a few of these to be true. And unfortunately, many caregivers are going to find all of these to be true. That the entire routine in your home has been disrupted. Everything has shifted to now take on that medical model versus a social model in your home. So you're just concerned about, are they getting their medicine on time? How are we going to manage behaviors? What are we going to do? So this can be very challenging. So as we're looking at what is caregiver stress, as we're looking at how you personally are experiencing caregiver stress, if you got 7 or more yeses, if 7 or more of these statements indicated yes to you, then you probably have a high level of stress. We're going to talk about ways we can help manage that stress and still take care of our loved ones at home. So if you're experiencing caregiver stress, raise your hand. Yep. Anyone say yes to all the questions that you heard? I think I did too. Right now I'm taking care of 2 folks, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law, and they live together at home still, but I've experienced every one of these pretty much every day off and on. I'm going back and forth with many of these things that just bring stress. So what is self-care? It's pretty easy to define stress, but let's take a look at what is self-care. And I'd like to invite you to take a minute and just think, in the last week, what have you done for yourself? What have you done to take care of yourself? What have you done to address your own personal needs? It becomes so easy as a caregiver to lose sight of your personal needs. We see this when we look at a new baby who comes in the house, and you go and you visit, and the mom and the dad look like they haven't had a shower for a couple of weeks. Those basic self-care needs are kind of put to the window when you have this urgent situation. And when the situation is something that maybe is going to last for a week or two, then you can temporarily put your self-care on hold. The problem is when we're looking at these chronic long-term changes, you can't go for months without taking care of yourself. So we're going to look at what is self-care and how can you address your needs too. So self-care are those things that you do for yourself. This is how I'd like to feel in the morning when I wake up. I'm dancing around, having a great time. Normally, I'm kind of a little more stressed trying to figure out how to get everything I need done. When you take care of yourself, it really boosts your self-esteem. So it helps you remember that you're also important. When you treat yourself with kindness, it helps you see yourself in a positive light. And when you see yourself in a positive light, you're much more able to accomplish the things that you want to do. So let's imagine that we got up this morning and we danced around like that. And I think that would be some great self-care. Self-care also improves focus. I often mention that when you start to become a caregiver, it's like you're a juggler with maybe one ball in the air, and it's easy to just kind of throw that ball up. Maybe you need to just start taking one meal over a couple times a week. You might need to do a little bit. Then as we progress in the caregiver journey, it seems like we just keep throwing more balls in the air. So now we need to go to medical appointments and get meals. Now we need to do all the grocery shopping, all the bill planning. Now we need to help with bathing and dressing and toileting and doctor's appointments and mowing the lawn, all the things they used to do. So after a while as a caregiver, we're trying to juggle so many balls that it is very difficult for us to focus on getting the specific things that we need done. Um, when you practice self-care, when you also include yourself in that caregiving, um, you feel less stressed and less burned out, and then you can accomplish your tasks easier. So it might feel like it's selfish to focus on yourself, but oftentimes when you do focus on self-care and you feel stronger and you feel more focused, then you're going to be able to complete those caregiving tasks more efficiently. Self-care boosts your health too. So when you take care of yourself, you're a better caregiver. It's really important for us as caregivers to understand that if we are not healthy and strong ourselves, we can't do the things that we want to do as a caregiver. So when you practice self-care, your own health hopefully will be a priority for you as well. And you will be able to wake up feeling better, take less personal medications, be on track with your own chronic illnesses, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So when you focus on self-care, it helps you be healthier. And this is what we want. Self-care boosts your ability to be a better caregiver. So when you're a caregiver, um, you want to do the best you can. You want to take care of that loved one. You want to repay them for all the love that you've shared together. And when you exercise self-care, it can help set up a situation where you're going to be more present when you're with your loved one, that it's not going to be all about those basic bodily functions in healthcare, that you can remember that you love one another, that you can relax and enjoy positive moments. So when you take better care of yourself, you're a better caregiver. If there's no other reason that you're going to give yourself permission to take care of yourself, do it for this, because you will be better at taking care of your loved one when you've exercised self-care. So self-care, again, we're talking about what are the things that you're able to do to take care of yourself? What are the things that you can focus on in addition to your caregiving responsibilities that are going to make it okay for you to take care of yourself? Self-care means setting boundaries. So it's not just about trying to find a way to get everything done. Sometimes self-care means saying no. In our family, my sister-in-law had a large family dinner every year at Thanksgiving. Anyone recognize that in yourself? Everyone comes over. She made the turkey, she made the ham. There were cookies on every table. Everywhere you looked, it was a celebration for her family, and she loved to do that. Um, as we dealt through the pandemic, we stopped family gatherings, but she had some health issues of her own. And so last year, when we were able to get back together, she said, I can't do it. She wanted to do it, but she just couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't do it the way she wanted. So we had a lunch the day before Thanksgiving where we just had some pie and some coffee, got together. On Thanksgiving, each of the families had Thanksgiving in their own separate home. Is that what she wanted to happen? No. But in order for her to take care of herself, she had to set new boundaries. She had to say no. So think about all of the things that you say yes to that you might need to start saying no to. Maybe it's saying no to making a homemade dessert when you're going over to your friends, but saying yes to picking up a Marie Callender pie because they're fabulous. So think about your boundaries and think about those things that you do that you might be able to say no to free up a little more time to say yes to yourself. One thing can be you can say, I don't have time in my schedule right now for that. Or I would love, love to do that. But right now, the only free time I have is Thursday at 2 o'clock. I can't meet you for breakfast anymore, but I can meet you every other Thursday at 2 because that's when I have someone come in and help. So for many caregivers, it is the biggest challenge to say no because we're so used to trying to take care of everyone. When you care for yourself, you have to remember that it's okay to say no. And you're saying no right now. You're not saying no forever. I love the magic yes button. Self care also means saying yes. It means saying yes to the things that are important to you. Many caregivers put aside all of the things that are important to them and only focus on what it is that their loved one wants. Think about some of the things in the past 6 months that you might have really wanted to do that you said no to, um, that you wanted to say yes to. Maybe it was going to a class reunion. Maybe it was going to a birthday party. Maybe it was um, that walk that you used to be able to take every morning. Think about the things that are important to you and think about just one thing that you could find that you could say yes to this month. Um, we're not magically, unfortunately, going to be able to give you 6 or 10 hours every day, but find out what's important to you and then make that a priority to figure out how you can get that done. So here's the thing. It is very, very difficult for one person to meet the needs of any other person by yourself. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to let people into your home and into your life who can help you. Um, so even though you're the captain of the team, you're in charge of the team, you're the one who the buck stops with, it's okay to let other people in. Now, this could mean that your dishes aren't going to get done exactly the way that you would have done them. The floor might not be scrubbed exactly the way you would have scrubbed it. That's okay. It's okay to let go and let some people come into your world and help. So who could be on that caregiving team? I'd like to invite you to take just a few minutes and think about the people who are already on your team. For many people, it's a daughter or a daughter-in-law. It could be a neighbor. It could be a sister. It could be a cousin. It could be a spouse. Who is on your caregiving team? Who can help? So do you have a few people in mind? As we move through this little talk we're having this morning, I'd like you to think about one or two things that you could let those people help you with. It's very hard, very difficult to accept help. But people like to help you and it makes them feel good. So think about the family. Who are the family people that are on your caregiving team? And what can they do to help? You don't have to do this all on your own. Do you have grandchildren who could help? They might be able to just come over and visit for that half hour while you go out and take a walk. They might be able to make dinner once a week. They might be asking you, what can I do to help? And many of us just say, it's fine, I have it, I have it, I have it. Start to make a list. I invite you to write some things down that you really could use help with. Is it mowing the yard? Is it walking the dog? Is it taking the dog to the vet? What are some things that are just kind of piling up on you that are just becoming too much for you to try and take care of? Make a list, and we're going to use that list a little bit later. Professionals. So who are the professionals in your life that can help? This can be your physician's office. Let them know what's going on. Many times they can make referrals to agencies for people to come in and help. If you're on Medicare or a Medicare replacement plan, many times your loved one would qualify for a home health provider to come in. Sometimes this is an intermittent service, which means that they're not going to come every day, they're not going to come forever. But if your loved one is at increased risk of falling, if they are having more difficulty getting in and out of their chair, if they're becoming more physically demanding for you, just to help with that piece of things, sometimes therapy can help and they can come in and help them be more independent again. Sometimes nursing can help come in and get medications where they need to be. So when you're at the physician, and they say, how are things going with the caregiving? Or how are things going? Our first response is usually to say, oh, I've got it. I have it under control. Next time you go to a doctor, take a list with you and say to the nurse when she comes in for that appointment, before the appointment, say, here are the things we're having trouble with. We're having a really difficult time, Bob, getting in and out of the bathtub right now. It's a lot more difficult. He had a fall. Let them know what's going on and they can hopefully connect you to some professionals in the area that can help. Does anyone here have a person who was in the military or who had VA benefits? The VA is a wonderful organization and they have a special program just for caregivers to help connect you to the resources that you need. So right now, the person that I'm taking care of, we didn't realize he qualified for so many veteran benefits. We went down, met with the Veteran Service Commission. They applied for some benefits for him. And now the veterans pay for someone to come in for a limited number of hours a week to provide care. So that's an option for many people that they just don't realize is out there. You may need to pay privately to have someone come in. Talk with your family, take a look at your budget and see if you could afford to have someone come in 2 or 3 hours a week, even would give you enough of a break to look at yourself and what you can do. When someone is nearing the end of life, Hospice Services come in and help you provide care and services in your home. They help with everything to do with the illness that is causing your loved one to be in a terminal condition. And they support you and they support your family. So there's all sorts of different things under a hospice benefit that could help. One thing I think that could be overlooked often is adult day services. So adult day services are essentially day programming for senior adults outside of the home. This is set up so that you can get a break at home. It's set up so that you can work. You can just have a day for yourself or 2 days a week for yourself. This is paid for privately or paid for through VA benefits. Or if someone has Medicaid, which is an aid program to help with medical benefits, then they cover services for adult day. So the person doesn't live there. They just go 1, 2, 3 days a week, however many days are going to be beneficial for them and for you. It gives them a break. They have socialization. They have activities, fun things to do. And it gives you a chance to breathe, to be at home, and get those things done that you've been putting off because you've been just in that caregiver role. The other thing that you can look for professionals, if you're having a difficult time dealing with the stress of caregiving, it might be time for you to talk to someone about stress and about how you can learn some techniques to cope better. And I guarantee they're going to talk to you about self-care and how you can focus on taking care of yourself too. The community. So who are the people in the community that might be able to help? Are you involved in a church or organization? Are there any services that your home church might offer for seniors? Many times there are people in the community who reach out and do things and you're just not aware of it. So ask and see. At some point, many people decide that it's no longer safe for them to stay home anymore and they need to physically move from their home into an assisted living or a nursing home. When it's time to make that move, it's also interesting and helpful to visit, go out and see which place looks the best for your loved one. So think about community organizations that might be able to help keep your person safe at home longer, provide supports and services for you. And eventually at some point, it might be time to make a move to a different home in the community. So a few minutes ago, I asked you guys to think about what are some of the things that you would like to have some help with, but you don't ask. So one of my favorite things is to encourage you to have a job jar. So it's not fancy. You just get a jar or a cup or a cookie jar or anything that you can hold some slips of paper in. You can use different colored paper for different activities, or you can write them all on the paper that you have and cut them up and put them in there. Many of us are blessed to have loved ones and family who come over and say, what can I do to help? How can I help? And many times our answer is, oh, there's nothing. I don't need you to do anything. A great tip I learned years ago was to have a job jar. And so you write down all those things that you need help with and you put them in this jar. And it might be, I need help mowing the yard once a week. And so maybe you have grandkids and they can pull a job out of the job jar. It might be doing your windows. It might be cleaning out the attic. There's all kinds of things you can put in the job jar. It might just be a meal. It might be a gift certificate, whatever it is that you think would be beneficial. If you do have people who are coming over to visit, who are routinely coming to see you, this can be helpful. What I have often found is that many times people want to help and we just don't let them. And we don't let them know how they can help. My brother was a terrible visitor, but he liked to work. So if he would go visit our parents, he would go in, sit down, spend 10 or 15 minutes with them. And then he would say, hey, I noticed that the screen door needs fixed. And he would go fix that. Or he would say, hey, I noticed that the garage needs cleaned out. He would do that. This job jar kind of thing is just a transition that gives people permission to help. It gives them permission to do the things that you'd like to have done, and it frees you up from feeling like you're indebted or having to ask. So let's think about some self-care practices for caregivers. Does it ever feel like this for you, where you're kind of going around with the weight of the world on your shoulders and your personal energy level is down to 1%? It's kind of like when your cell phone is running out of juice and you're trying to figure out, what can I do to get recharged? Well, we also have energy reserves in the same way. And so what I'd like to invite you to do is, on a piece of paper, draw a little battery. It can look like this. It can be Duracell, whatever battery that you'd like. And I'm going to invite you to think about, what are the things that you personally could do to recharge that battery? So you might put things on there like take a walk, take a bubble bath, go see my children, walk the dog. So what I'd like you to try to do, if you would, is to try and think about, what are some of the things that you can do to recharge your batteries? And that's kind of the basis of self-care. What are the things that you can do for yourself big things, small things, to just help recharge your batteries and help you be ready to go and do caregiving again. So for me personally, I really like to get a pedicure. I think that is the best thing. Um, it can take an hour. I'm kind of just there sitting in that chair. I'm relaxing. Someone is rubbing my legs, making me feel happy, making the stress go away. So that is a great self-care practice personally for me. Getting my toes done. Really, really enjoy that. So if I'm having a stressed day or a stressed week, I think, do I have time to squeeze in a pedicure? And if I do, I always feel better. So think about all the things that you could use to recharge your batteries. These don't have to be hugely expensive things. Of course, sitting on the beach and watching the ocean blow by, that is a great thing. But what is it you could do today if you got an extra 10 minutes or tomorrow to help recharge your batteries? Self-care does not have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be so much time away from your loved one that you're not caring for them. Sometimes self-care is as simple as getting up 20 minutes early just so that you can have your coffee on the deck before your loved one gets up. It can be sitting in the bathtub if that's what you like. It could be a long hot shower. It's just time that you are giving yourself to take care of yourself. So, as we've gone through today and we've identified what caregiver stress is, and we've identified that when you're a caregiver, you're putting all your energy on taking care of other people, it can be very challenging to maintain our own health and well being. And we looked at what are the reasons that self care is important, and we looked at some things we could do. Um, Hopefully, you came up with a few ideas in your battery drawing, but here's some more simple things. Number one, practice intentional breathing. So I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath, put your feet on the floor, just take a deep breath. We're going to do 10. So are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. 1. Take another one. And inhale and hold it. And then exhale, letting all the stress blow out. Take another deep breath. This is number 3. Take it in and exhale. Let all the stress float away. Number 4, take a deep breath in and exhale it out, letting all the stress. Number 5, take a deep breath and exhale. Number 6, take a deep breath, inhale. Now exhale. And again, take that deep breath, hold it, and then exhale all your stress out. And again, take one more deep breath in, hold it, then exhale. We'll do one more deep breath in, hold it, and then exhale. There's something about just breathing that helps ground us. And sometimes you might only have time to take 1 or 2 deep breaths, and then you need to jump right back in. But if you're feeling extra stressed, if you're feeling like you just don't have what it takes to get through the day, start each morning with this intentional breathing practice. Start with 5, start with 3, however it is that you want to do it. And you'll be amazed at how much you'll think about that throughout the day, and you'll just take another deep breath or two, and it gets you back to being grounded. Next, reach out to your family and friends. Let people know what's going on. Maybe after your loved one has gone to sleep, set up a date to call that friend that lives on the other coast, or think about ways that you can reach out to your family and friends. Number 3, work out and find ways to stay active. Now, as a caregiver, as a stress caregiver, it's kind of funny for me because, well, how do I have time to work out? How do I have time to stay active? Oftentimes, you're just going to be able to squeeze in 5 or 10 minutes, maybe an extra quick walk with the dog, or maybe just some stretching exercises. Maybe there are going to be ways that you and your loved one can work out and stay active together, depending on what's exactly wrong. Think about, what are you eating? Can you eat a more well-balanced meal? Have a treat occasionally, but can you try and keep your fuel levels high with the food that you're eating? And then, can you set and follow a schedule? Are there things that that you can do every day at the same time, so that both you and your loved one get into a real routine? Get up at the same time every day. Sometimes this can help with dementia, with sundowning, with those kind of things, to help you be a little more in a routine, to help that person feel like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, it's time for tea at 10 o'clock, or whatever it is that works for you. Next, some more simple things that you can do as a caregiver. You can order dinner for delivery. Think about your respite options. So is there someone who could come for an hour to take care of your loved one? Is there someone who could come for an overnight so that you could have a respite? Or many communities have 1 to 2 week respite programs for you to be able to take care of yourself while your loved one is being taken care of professionally by someone else. That respite option is great for you to try to decide what's going to work for you for a long-term placement. Next, look at adult day services. I can't say enough about what a great thing it can be for both you and your loved one to have somewhere for them to go during the day, a couple of days a week, so that you can have some time and they can have time on their own as well. Take a class. So I'm always amazed that caregivers ever find time to come to anything like this, because we're just so busy. So look at some things like this. Take a class, find a minute to prioritize yourself, and whether you like to cook or paint or sew, there's all sorts of things on the internet that you can do. And if you can go take a live class, even better. My final tip is to make sure that you keep your own medical appointments, that you look at the things that are going to keep you strong and healthy, and that you give yourself permission to do that. Schedule time in your calendar for yourself, and use your family, your community resources and organizations to try and supplement what you're doing, because you do not have to do it all yourself.